All right. Have you ever heard of a car salesman so wildly successful that he actually had to hire a whole team just to handle his paperwork? It sounds kind of crazy, right? Well, today, we're going to unpack the incredible story of Joe Girard. This is a guy who did something almost unbelievable in the world of sales, basically by hacking human connection and turning every single interaction into a massive opportunity. Just look at this number for a second. 13,001. That is how many cars Joe Girard sold in his 15-year career. And get this, we're not talking about fleet sales to big companies. Nope, every single one was sold retail, one-on-one, just him and a customer, face-to-face. Do the math on that. It averages out to about 6 cars sold every single day he went to work. It's just staggering. And you know what's so powerful about his story is this belief he had. He said, salesmen are made, not born. If I did it, you can do it. He was totally convinced he wasn't some kind of natural-born prodigy. He insisted his success came from a system, a repeatable process built on super basic principles like trust and just plain hard work. And he believed right down to his core that anybody could learn it.
And hey, this wasn't just his opinion or him hyping himself up. His results were so absolutely staggering, so dominant year after year, that the Guinness Book of World Records made it official. They named him the world's greatest salesman for 12 years straight.
Okay, let's really put this into perspective because this is where it gets wild. In his best year, Joe Girard by himself sold 1,425 cars. Now, at that exact same time, 95% of all car dealerships in North America, I'm talking entire organizations with full sales teams, sold fewer cars than that. One guy was outperforming almost every single dealership on the continent. It's just mind-blowing. So this begs the huge question, right? How on earth did one man, with no internet, no social media, none of our modern tools, achieve this? How did he build a selling machine of this magnitude, belly to belly with customers? Well, the answer, it really has very little to do with selling cars and everything to do with understanding people. So let's go back to the beginning of this journey, because it didn't start with a bang. It started with absolute rock-bottom desperation. Joe Girard's story is not a story of starting at the top. He started at the very, very bottom. Yeah, long before he was the world's greatest salesman, Joe Girard was, in his own words, a loser. He was 35 years old, had been fired from something like 40 different jobs. His construction business had totally collapsed, and he was buried in debt. We're talking so broke, he was struggling to figure out how to feed his family. And that right there, that was his motivation. It was brutally simple. He said, once I had nailed that bag of groceries to feed my family, I understood the value of a selling victory. You see, his first commission wasn't about getting rich or buying a fancy watch. It was about putting food on the table. That raw, primal need to provide, it just lit a fire in him that made every single sale deeply personal. And man, his whole life up to that point was just paved with failure. As a kid, his own father told him over and over again that he was a loser who'd never amount to anything. Then, as a young adult, he just bounced from job to job, getting fired more than 40 times. So finally, at 35, he walks into a Chevy dealership and literally begs for a job. He promised the manager he wouldn't steal any walk-in customers, he'd just use a desk and a phone. So how do you go from that to becoming a legend? Well, this next part is where everything changes. He stumbles onto a simple but incredibly powerful idea, an idea that would become the foundation for his entire empire. He called it the Law of 250. So, Girard's Law of 250. What is it? Well, the insight came from a really unlikely place. He was at a funeral one day, and he asked the funeral director, hey, how many prayer cards do you usually print? The director tells him, about 250. That's the average. So later, out of curiosity, he asks a wedding caterer the same kind of question and gets this same answer, about 250 people. A light bulb went off. And that simple number, 250, became his North Star, his guiding principle. He had this massive realization. Every single person you meet doesn't just represent one person or one sale. They represent an entire network of roughly 250 other people. They're a doorway. And suddenly, the leverage is just incredible. It's a game changer. Think about it. If you do a great job and make one customer happy, you didn't just get one fan. You potentially got 250 potential fans. But, and this is the crucial part, on the flip side, if you mess up and make one person unhappy, you've created 250 potential enemies. The stakes for every single human interaction just became massive. So this really makes you think, right? It's a powerful question for all of us. What if you treated every single person you meet as a portal to 250 others? How would that change the way you interact with a client, a coworker, or even the person making your coffee? It changes everything. Okay, and here's the crucial point. Girard wasn't just a philosopher. He didn't just have a cool theory. He took the law of 250 and he built an incredible practical system to put it into action. He literally engineered a referral machine designed for one thing, to generate a constant, never-ending flow of customers. And the engine of this whole machine was what he called his bird dog system. It was genius. He went out and recruited people in high-contact jobs, barbers, mechanics, bank tellers, people who are always talking to other people and hear about major life changes. He gave them a stack of his business cards and a simple deal. You send me someone who buys a car, I pay you $25. Just like that, he built a decentralized, human-powered search engine for new customers. But that was just one piece of the puzzle. He didn't stop there. To make sure he never lost touch with a single customer, he built a massive direct mail operation. Think about this. Every single month, he sent a greeting card to his entire customer list. That's over 13,000 cards a month. And the message was so simple, sometimes it just said, "I like you," signed Joe Girard. It was a brilliantly simple, low-tech way to always stay top of mind. So you can really see the difference here. The typical salesman, they just wait for people to walk onto the lot. Joe Girard, he had an army of bird dogs out there hunting for leads. The typical salesman forgets about you the second you drive away. Joe Girard, he's in your mailbox every single month. See, most salespeople were focused on the one-time profit. Girard was focused on a lifetime of referrals. He was playing a totally different game than everyone else. And he had this great way of visualizing it all, a metaphor he called the Ferris wheel. He said you have to always be adding new people to the ride, filling those empty seats, at the exact same time you're helping other people close their deals and get off the ride. Because if you only focus on the people getting off, the wheel stops, your pipeline dries up, and that's when you hit that classic feast or famine cycle that so many salespeople get stuck in. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, okay, this is cool, but it's all kind of old school, right? Greeting cards and bird dogs? But here's the thing. His strategies are more relevant today than ever. Why? Because while the tools have definitely changed, the human principles behind them, they haven't changed one bit. I mean, let's just translate it into today's language. Girard's law of 250, that's what we call the network effect. That's going viral. His bird dog system, that's the blueprint for every affiliate marketing program out there. Those 13,000 monthly mailers, that's just a low-tech version of today's hyper-personalized email automation. And his Ferris wheel model, well, that's the core idea behind every CRM and sales pipeline software on the market today. So really, it all boils down to this one simple truth. The technology has changed, for sure, but the core principle that drove all of his success, it is absolutely timeless. In any business, in any era, trust is the ultimate currency. And Joe Girard figured out how to build that trust on a scale that nobody had ever seen before. And he summed up his entire philosophy perfectly with this one line: the sale starts after the sale. For him, the moment you sign the papers wasn't the end of the relationship. It was just the beginning. It was the service, the follow-up, the genuine care he showed after he made the sale that turned a one-time customer into a walking, talking advertisement for life. So we'll leave you with this to think about. In our hyper-connected world, where everyone has their own law of 250, who is the most important person in your network? Joe Girard's answer was simple, and it's brilliant. It's the person standing right in front of you.